Hey guys, back again? Daily Dave? No, no, no. I'm here when I've got something to say or something crosses my mind or I really need to say it. And sometimes my life gets in the way and then there's a period of time and I'm not here. But I'm here right now because um, I'm starting to get my head around how we go forward um, after the events of this past Tuesday. And I'm speaking specifically to people like me. What the hell does that mean? Well, what I mean by that is people in the arts and humanities. I am a musician, music producer, composer, person. I'm a trumpet player. I used to play a lot of jazz, and these days I play all the time, but I'm not playing out. I record sometimes parts for people and stuff like that. But I'm doing some stuff for sync licensing, which is interesting to get involved in. And I'm doing my own creative things, and I'm going to be releasing new music soon. And there'll be some drum playing probably on that. Stylistically, what that is, I like not knowing or saying. I like trying to stay outside of genre as much as possible because I'm trying intentionally to make something that seems reflective of the universe I am in, rather than feeling a need to be beholden to a genre or a style and saying, "Oh, I play this stuff, therefore I must do all this." Yeah, I think that gets in the way of creativity. But what I think other folks in the arts, whether you're an actor or you're a musician or you're a writer or you're a dancer or whatever it is, if you're in the arts, you're in design, you know, if you're not doing the same thing as me, well, you're doing something adjacent to me. We're creative people. I think we have a similar view to the world. I think we're sensitive people. I think we're emotionally a bit fragile, and which is why we do what we do. If you're not in any of those fields, I'm not saying you can't understand what we're saying or you can't understand what I am saying. But some of the things that we take for granted, you'll say, well, I don't see the world that way, and I don't think that's true. And you probably don't and probably shouldn't. You're in a different space, and you're a space that's appropriate to you. No one's saying you're wrong. All right. But at the same time, those of us who are built this way, we kind of have to we have to deal with the reality of our situation, understanding ourselves, understanding how we're built, understanding how we react, and understanding how we go forward. And I've had a lot of thoughts about this, about because I have a tendency to be. A lot of people aren't. But I have a tendency to be very involved in politics. I'm not involved in the sense that I belong to a party or that I, go to rallies or that I organize for political parties. In fact, that level of involvement is something I'm very uncomfortable with. I'm happy that there are people out doing it, but I also, know thyself. You have to know what you are. And so when I say politically involved, you go, well, you're not involved. The politically involved people are the people in the party and going to, yeah, okay. I think most people aren't involved that way. And I'm happy that there are some that are, but some of us are just not built for that. And if you aren't, then, but I still think you have a civic responsibility. Okay, well, how do you fulfill that civic responsibility? Well, you vote and you speak out. And and again, you're part of the conversation. And I think that's it. You're informed. Um, I think it's the basis of good citizenship. So I think of myself, even though I think of myself as being involved, I am an independent. I'm not a member of either party, but although I lean very, very much to the left, but I am not a member of either party. So if you're to the left, it's been a gut punch, right? And I think a lot of people feel that, look, the world has taken a turn where you and I and people like us are, we're not the good guys. Now, we're not unused to that. We've spent our whole lives being outsiders, right? And let me hit something else, because I'm sure I would say it, I would think it. If you're watching me right now, you sit there and go, you look like the most ordinary white guy. What the hell are you worried about? Fair. Abundantly fair. I know all sorts of people of color, and also because I'm involved in what I'm involved in, I'm very much an ally of all sorts of folks who, get the crap beaten out of them on a daily basis, figuratively more than literally, all the time. Lots of LGBTQ people and so forth who've spent their whole lives, having to be vastly more careful. All sorts of folks of various ethnicities, all sorts of people of color, of whatever variation. And they've had to, they've got much more to worry about than me. There's no doubt about it. That being said, even if their danger level is higher than mine, doesn't mean there isn't a danger level. You have a danger level just for thinking what you're thinking. And the other stuff may be an easy way for people to decide you are something that maybe you are and maybe you aren't. But, that's kind of profiling. But if you sit there and go, gee, you look like an ordinary white guy, Dave. And I agree with you. I'd also point out that some of that is intentional. I am very careful in how I deal with the great outer world. I look like every man with a degree of intentionality so that I can blend in, because I know I don't fit in and will never fit in and never have fit in. I've never, okay? I knew this from kindergarten, all through school, everything, right? I know who I am, and this is not going to go away ever. So I just did want to plant a flag on that one. I get it, okay? But don't think I'm not aware of it. And like, I'm a survivor, like most of you guys out there who are in far more marginalized, communities will know. Being a survivor is part of this. And I don't have to worry about it as much. You're right, but I still have to worry about somewhat, enough so that I can speak on it because I've had to do it my whole life. Again, I could play the game differently because of ethnicity and because of whatever, but we're still playing the same game. There's still a danger out there, and that we have to deal with. So, like I say, I think it's important to be involved with the politics, but I also, I get very involved in online political conversation. Threads has been my thing a lot of times. And I'm probably backing off from there right now because there are folks who live for the outrage of the moment. It takes up all their time. All they do is they're online talking about it. And it gets them very upset. And I'm not sure it accomplishes anything other than just getting them upset. Now, I'm going to make an argument that sounds like an argument for withdrawing from society, which I think a lot of people are going to do right now. I don't necessarily blame them for that. And I don't think I'm talking about going that far. I'm talking about probably maybe going 2/3 there, though. And here's why. I think there's a clear political side to things, and I'm on it. But at the same time, I think I mentioned before, I'm an independent. Well, why aren't you a Democrat? Because they screw up a lot. They don't fight back nearly as hard as I want them to or have ever wanted them to. I want something far more strident, I suppose. I want them to be a little tougher and fight a little harder. I think when they have power, they need to wield it. We're in a fight, and I don't think you fight and go, yes, but we wouldn't possibly consider winning, because that might be gauche. No, we need fighters. And they've never fought hard enough. I've been watching politics since I was 10. My guys have never fought hard enough. And I'm 58. At this point, I'm not sure they're ever going to. Again, I'm clearly on that side of the equation, right? Clearly on that side of the equation. But they have failed me over and over again. Just too centrist, couldn't go hard enough, couldn't do enough. So, I don't give my loyalty out easily. And although many times I've wanted to go there, I feel like it's been betrayed. They don't push hard enough. They don't seem to believe it hard enough. I loved Obama. Maybe as a concept. I'm not sure I loved him as a president. I thought then there was an opportunity to push hard because he was getting great blowback. And rather than wait 15, 12, 20 years to deal with something that we could have dealt with then, I would have preferred we hit the nail on the head and dealt with it then. So I think I don't like the look of where things are going because, it's either somebody's going to win or somebody's going to lose, or there's going to be a really big conflict and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. But I'm not interested in playing martyr and being on a losing side. One of the things I was talking to my son because I have concerns about my son, make sure that he is safe. He's a good guy. But one of the things we were talking about was, I am determined to outlive this movement. I'm determined. There is going to a day and I'm going to get up and I may be very old, but it'll be gone and I'll have outlived it. I'm very determined to do that. And I talked to my son, one of the things we talked about was, paths forward and so forth. And I gave him, I think, kind of an unusual one. And it really made me think about the state of our society. I thought, how would my heroes approach a situation like this? And I had an answer, actually, a very easy answer. It was a breeze, actually. A lot of my heroes are the great jazz musicians of the 1930s and 40s and 50s and 60s. And Lester Young and Billie Holiday and Ellington certainly, Basie certainly, Miles, Coltrane, Monk. Oh, and guys like Chet Baker and guys like Bill Evans. You put white guys on that list, but they were living the lifestyle. They didn't invent the lifestyle, but they were living the lifestyle, certainly. And they were outsiders too. But the guys who were African American is really because they knew they had no home. They were essentially persona non grata in their own land. And they faced up to that, they hit it head on, and they coped. And they just realized, I'm not part of this society and will never be part of this society. really. And because of that, I'm not trying to get their approval. I'm never going to get it. Why would I put myself through that frustration of getting an approval that I'm never going to get? I am not of them, and they will never get me. They don't understand what I do. They understand how it affects me emotionally and they're never going to get me. That you can say that's a tragedy and that's a sad thing. It may, perhaps, but be that as it may, it is a fact. And they faced up to that reality and said, they go, no, I'm not. But they also realized there was a great deal of, because they were another, there was animus coming their way. And what was their response to that? An ability to be a survivor, to keep their head down. On the gig, great, they would, deal with an audience and so forth. But the minute the gig was over and they were out of the club, they had entered that other world, and they needed to put those barriers in front of them, hat go a little lower. They were always looking out. They're always looking over their shoulder. Always. Incredibly resilient. Did it take a toll on them? Yes. But that's the way they had to live. They created their own lingo and own language, own slang, so they knew who everybody was, who was quote unquote on the team. They understood each other, but they lived in their world doing their thing. They also recognized that society that they'd love to actually be able to fix, it was unfixable. They'd given up on that a long time ago. And that doesn't make you just go, well, you can't give up on society and you've got to be involved. Okay, well, hold on, time out. If you've been trying to make a change your whole life and it never comes through, look, when it's time to vote, we go vote. If there's a major event and we can help, we'll always help. If we can help marginalized folks, every chance we get, we help them. Right? So that's not a question. Acting morally is something we're always going to do. But you've also got to sit there and say, I by myself cannot fix it. I can't fix it because I'm speaking out or I'm saying something or I'm outraged by this or I'm like, none of that angst doesn't help. It only makes you less effective. I'm not saying when the bell rings you don't show up, or you don't show up. If it had to be every day, you would show up every day. And if I have to be there every day, I will be there. But if it's not going to have any effect, look, we're talking about historical and sociological forces, but we're going to get out there because, we made an online post. Boy, we sure showed them, but didn't we? That moved the needle. It's not gonna move the needle. Guys, I got a phone call. You hang on, I'm coming right back. May have been the first time that happened since we were here. Anyway, let's see if I can get my train of thought going again. We're talking about, are making it, are any of those gestures going to move the needle? Are you going to change? To what degree are you going to affect the society? Yes, every one of us should be involved. I agree. But we also have to be able to take care of ourselves. And if that's just making us less effective, or if it's consuming us, then we can't do that. We can't do that. So, there is a sense, and like I was mentioning before, the great jazz musicians, I think they believed in social justice and they were happy to be involved in that anytime they could. But they also knew that they had to they were there first and foremost about taking care about in their case, the music, and that was still had to remain job one. And there was just so much they could do. Had they totally given up on society? No, no. But to some degree, they realized that it just wasn't something they could necessarily fix. And again, the issues are too large for any one of us to do that. So am I saying disappear from society? No, no. But I think a degree of, in the face of something that looks extremely adverse, I think you have every right to look after yourself. Be smart. Look out for the people that you know. It's terrible that it should have to be that way, but I've also thought about this. How many people have lived through all sorts of unbelievably terrible things, and have come out the other side. I don't know that we're going to have more elections. I think all that's in question. Maybe we will. There are some people who say, yes, we will. I think the worst things that we're worried about probably probably won't happen. If I learned anything the last time we did this, is that they're incredibly incompetent. But I can't spend all my time obsessing about those crepes. Remaking the politics of liberalism, well, yeah, I think, again, we'll be involved. We're certainly interested in being part of the conversation. But they didn't just disappear. What I've come to realize is that people are really not all that committed to anything ideologically. My ticket splitting should tell you that. People voted for complete liberals and then voted for things that are the opposite. They did it a lot, and they didn't seem to be able to tell that there was a difference. Again, I think it's Mencken or P.T. Barnum, right? No one will ever go broke by underestimating the intelligence of the American people. I think if you sit there and go, well, it's easy for you on your high horse there, and white guy, privileged person, to be looking down on all the people. I think it's terrible what you do. Okay, then you think that. Fine, I've still got an opinion, as long as I'm allowed to have that, I guess. And look, if the nation if it's a nation of idiots that isn't educated enough to understand what the hell is going on, what these philosophical forces are, don't know any of that, then it's a nation of idiots. And it does make dumb decisions. Good Lord. It's the same country that, elected Nixon twice, Reagan twice, George W. Bush twice. Now this guy, a second time, like the first time wasn't bad enough, and totally forgot that happened, and the willy-nilly, and we could go from Bush to Obama, to Trump to Biden, to back to Trump. I mean, there's no ideology. You get that framing, that media framing. The people have now decided this. No. People were bothered because the price of eggs went up. Yeah. Boy, we got to be a lot better than that. Yeah, and guess what? We're not. And from what I can tell throughout my life, we never have been. If it's, a pox on both their houses, Dave? Yeah. Okay? Yeah. If people get it wrong over and over and over again, I've got to be invested in that. These are my guys. These folks who are constantly screwing it up. You don't seem to have a lot of hope in society. Never did. It's one of the reasons I do what I do, and I'm over here doing it. It's a mess. But again, it's always been a mess. I think it probably always will be a mess to some degree. I think those of us who are outsiders, it's just, you know what this is? There's any silver lining out of all this. It's just confirmation, reset. Yeah, this is the way it's always sort of been. And these things will come and these things will go. And this, whatever this is, at some point will die. They all do. It will die too. It will crumble of its own weight. And it will die. It will do a tremendous amount of damage and long-term, right. It will. But anything done can be undone. So, and again, I can't by myself fix that, and neither can you. Right? We don't choose the circumstances. We do our best to try to, by voting, to try to decide what the circumstances will be. But then very often circumstances come and you are just stuck in it. Now what can you do? And I think it's absolutely fine for you to realize, okay, this situation is a mess and to some degree doesn't deserve me. I'm not going to be able to fix it anyway. Even if you tried, they're not going to listen to you. What are you going to do about that? Do you know the Bernstein quote? Our response to violence. I'm not going to get it wrong, but I'm paraphrasing. But our response to violence is to make music that is more passionately and more beautiful, and a rededication to what we're about. People say, "What is it that you can do?" And I think if you're in the arts, because in the end, I see this through a cultural prism. In the end, what can we do? And if we're artistic people, we should make more art. We should be things that affect people that, look, I believe in the power of distraction. I don't think we change people's minds with great political speeches. I think we change them by the music they listen to, by the movies they watch, by the fiction they read, by performances that they see. And those moments, people get dreamy. That's when the minds are changed. It's very indirect, and you can't measure it. Well, then it doesn't exist then. Wrong. It very much exists, very powerful. No, it's pretty much impossible to measure, but it exists. And we're the people who make the stuff that is the catalyst for those moments. We want to change things. What is it that we do? What is it that we do best? Well, that's what we do best. Well, we should do that. That's the most direct way we can actually change things. Well, that's incredibly indirect. Yeah, it is. Do it anyway. So, I guess where all this is going is, or where what it made me think is, it's perfectly fine. I think it's a good reset. Is the society a mess? Yeah, it always has been. Are you a part of it? Not really. Marginally. Somewhat. But we're always going to be on the outside. What can we do? We can do what we do. We can help people whenever we get a chance. If there is an opportunity to actually make a difference, absolutely, of course, without question, it would be there. But we cannot by ourselves fix the society. And getting ourselves upset and making our life worse is not going to help. What we can do, we can make every effort in our own lives to help out the kind of people we need to help out. So that's what I'm going to leave you with this time. I'm sure there are folks who will disagree violently that this is a selfish stance, perhaps, or okay. There's virtually nothing you could say that some other perspective sits here and goes, this makes him the Antichrist. Okay. Um, you should be helping out the society. It's the old Kennedy thing. Ask that which you can do for your country. Oh, yeah. I am happy to be in service, often without needing any reward whatsoever. But sometimes you'd like to think there was some reason for doing it, or you got something back for the investment. Seems reasonable. Look, I think we do a lot of things never expecting a reward because it's just the right thing to do. Good. That's good. That's a good instinct. But can't put yourself out there forever, always, fighting the good fight and get nothing. There comes a point where you sit there and go, that's a bad investment. I think, again, last point. A lot of people are very nervous. A lot of people are very scared. I'm not sure. It's possible this could get very bad and very dark. Should that happen, we're not the first folks who are going to be in trouble. I think there are people in media who are very nervous right now. I mean, there are podcasters who are nervous right now. I think the people at the Midas Touch Network are very nervous right now. Kimmel is probably nervous right now. Colbert might be nervous right now. I think when you start seeing something happening there, get concerned. I would think it would happen there and go, but maybe it would be from the bottom up. Who the hell knows? Maybe both. But I think we have to remember we have to be the good survivors that we have always been. Know how to keep our head down and navigate this. Is it a tremendous shame that it has come to this? Yeah. Was it unbelievably unnecessary? No doubt. Should we have done better? Absolutely. Collectively, an utter failure. Not only an utter failure once, it's an utter failure twice. I mean, extraordinary. But that's where we're at. So what now? What? Try to recover from the gut punch. But it doesn't change who we are. And letting all of that noise, and it's not going to help you. Know what's going on, but don't dwell there. It's going to do you no good. I think that's the balance. I think that's the threading of the needle. When there's a chance, we'll be there. But there ain't going to be a chance for a while. And that means, look, Obi-Wan. When in doubt, cite Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan knew what to do. Obi-Wan took off, was careful, kept himself around for when there would be another opportunity. So, yeah, I would cite the example of Obi-Wan. In our own country, in our own minds, we may need to be a little bit of Obi-Wan. All right, guys, you feel free to let me know what you think about all this. You probably will not hear from me now for a little bit because I'm going to get busy with all this stuff because I've got work to do, right? Just like we all do, right? That our commitment to our art never goes away. But that's who we are. We're not politicians. That's who we are. Talk to you guys.